Kia ora guys and welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max. A massive thank you to my patrons, as I say at the start of every single video. For today's topic, we're going to discuss the Scott Robertson era that has finally began with the All Blacks. Earlier this week, he had a bit of a training camp with the team, trying to establish himself, as the new head honcho, getting everybody connected with his new support staff, the overall coaching team, and of course, when the international season does roll around, Tamati Ellison's also going to be joining as a skills coach, and Sir Wayne Smith is going to be joining as a bit of a support coach as well. That's going to be awesome to see. I'm going to slide over the first graphic of today's video, so we're going to go through everything, explain what's happening, and explain the steps Razor's taking so we can establish why he is going to absolutely dominate as the new All Blacks coach from 2024 and onwards. This year is going to be a belter. As we can see, there are 22 All Blacks in his current camp. Now, what you'll notice straight away with the players in his camp, all of the players who played in the 2023 Rugby World Cup, who were still based in New Zealand, they were the only players invited. Samasoni Taukeiaho is the only hooker, there's only 2 locks in the camp, and there's only a single specialist first 5/8, Damien McKenzie. So what this tells me straight away is that Scott Robertson doesn't want to just, sack the guys straight away. He wants to get to know every single player who has been coached by Ian Foster that's still available, and he wants to pick their brains, see what he can get out of them at test level. He wants to give them an advantage for selection by giving them a lot of training drills. Look at Cam Roigard's broken record for the Bronco. He is the only player who has tied Beauden Barrett's record. That's his own new record and everything. Stuff like that is great to start off the year, clearly just making it clear to the players that you're going to be ambitious and we're going to give things a go. The other really impressive thing as well is that in a Stuff article that I read, he mentioned that a lot of these players, they're getting one-on-one training from particular assistant coaches. So what we'll notice in this new graphic is that the type 5 forwards, they've been doing their, particular specific work with Jason Ryan. He was the forwards coach under Ian Foster. He's now going to be the set piece coach under Scott Robertson, whereas we noticed the halves, they're having a bit of training with the defense coach Scott Hansen, who once played as a halfback himself. He was also the assistant coach of the Crusaders when Razor was steering the ship at the Crusaders. So what this tells me straight away is that if there is indeed going to be some Crusaders bias, which I hope there isn't because I support the Chiefs, it's going to be in the tight 5 forwards. The mindset that also comes across to me is the fact that he clearly wants good defensive halves in his team. The other real thing that jumps out to me is the fact that Razor has been doing some one-on-one sessions with the loose forwards, just 3 of them, Ethan Blackadder, Luke Jacobson, and Dalton Papali'i. What this is telling me is that Razor is clearly going to want to have a few loose forwards who played the game a bit like himself. He wants to have some very versatile loose forwards coming off the bench. The midfielders with Jason Holland have been doing a bit of training there, which makes sense. Jason Holland played 10 and 12 as a player himself, and Leon McDonald, who better to lead the outside backs than the former 56 Test legend himself. So based on that current squad there, based on that mindset we're seeing from Scott Robertson, I believe that most of the players still available from the 2023 Rugby World Cup are going to get picked. Assuming 36 are going to get picked in the squad, the sabbaticals of Cody Taylor, who's not currently playing right now, Sam Cane, Ardie Savia, and Beauden Barrett, you can see their respective clubs in the graphic. The fact that those guys aren't present for the trainee squad right now, this is going to mean the particular vacancies you can see in the graphic are available. So just for those who are just listening to this in the car or something, that's 1 hooker, 1 tight head prop, 3 locks, 1 loose forward, 1 halfback, 1 first 5, 1 midfielder, and 1 outside back. So the new graphic I have coming along to your screens, this is what the squad is likely going to look like under those circumstances of Razor wanting to retain all of the Foster era players who are still available. What this is going to mean is that Cody Taylor, Ardie Savia, Beauden Barrett, and Sam Cane, they're all most likely going to come back from their sabbaticals. So the vacancies, I believe, who are they going to be filled by? I believe at hooker it's going to be filled by George Bell. Jason Ryan has been giving the Crusaders a bit of a hand for a while before he became the obviously All Blacks forwards coach. So with the Crusaders, the fact that so many of the coaches are coming from there, the type 5 forwards, I do believe this is the area where the Crusaders bias is going to show up. Cody Taylor, if he lasts to the 2027 Rugby World Cup, he's going to be 36 years old. As Dane Coles and Kevin Mialamu both played their last test match at 36 years old, I think it's absolutely possible for Taylor, considering he was a vice-captain for the Crusaders under Scott Robertson. With Taukei'aho almost certain to get a starting spot with Jason Ryan though, I think Ryan's Crusaders bias will show up when picking the third choice. George Bell has been touted by many as a future All Black. He's been in the Crusaders environment for 2 years, and of course he captains the Baby Blacks at age grade level. With the props though, the thing is, Finlay Brewis doesn't really have an easy way in. Owen Franks, Joe Moody and George Bower, they're all present in the Crusaders right now, whereas obviously Fletcher Newell to Mighty Williams are probably going to be in jerseys 17 and 18, a fair bit under Razor. So Jermaine Ainsley and George Dyer, they're probably the only out-and-out tight head props ready for selection right now. Considering Ainsley's played 3 tests for Australia, it's a good brain to pick. Now the locks, Josh Lord's obviously going to fill one of those spots. Sammy Penny Fairnow's obviously going to fill a spot with the loose forwards, getting his recall. So who else is going to go in the locks? Well, they need height. They need discipline. So with, Quinton Strange aging out, Mitchell Dunshea going to the Highlanders, getting injured, I think Zach Gallagher of the Crusaders, if Razor wants to continue his Crusaders bias the type 5 forwards, this is probably the guy who's a bit of a safer bet there, to get the nod. Gallagher's gained a lot of muscle in the last year or so. He was just 102 kg on his debut for the Crusaders. He's now clocking in at about 118 kg or so. There's also Fabian Holland, who is 6'9" for the Highlanders. He's probably not ready quite yet, but if he has a good Super Rugby season, I have a good feeling this is going to be the guy filling the spot. So how about the halves? It's easy. You can get Folau Fakatava in because, well, I truly believe the All Blacks will have both the two of the best nines in the world. But as for the backline, there are still 3 vacancies to get. Jason Holland having that one-on-one session with the midfielders, he's probably going to want to keep Geordie Barrett as the 12 because he was Geordie's head coach at the Hurricanes. As Holland, is training with those midfielders, he's going to put forward the case of, Razor, you love your TWI, you love doing all this cohesion building. He's going to want to put Aiden Morgan and Ruben Love into this team, I believe. Now, the reason I see this is more likely than Zahn Sullivan and Stephen Petafeta getting recalls, well, even though Zahn Sullivan has been in the Māori All Blacks and the All Blacks 15, even though Stephen Petafeta has played 3 test caps, I see Aiden Morgan coming out of the blue similarly to Beauden Barrett in 2012. A lot of the other young 10s, AJ Faleafaga, Cam Miller, Lucas Cashmore, all very talented but not quite ready yet. Taha Kemura, I think, is going to eventually get himself a cap during the Robertson era, but just not quite now. Same with Noah Hotham, who's also definitely going to replace Finlay Christie eventually. The thing is, Morgan's had 2 years with the Hurricanes, including 1 as the first choice 10 to get himself ahead of the other guys his age competing for the spot. The last thing he needs is just another run of consistent game time and he's pretty much there. The fact that they're going to be bringing in basically an entirely new spine, it's going to mean those midfielders are all going to stay the same. They'll want them to continue being experienced, so Quinn Supaia's recall is pretty much inevitable. And, Jason Holland wanting to give Geordie Barrett that support, well, who better for these young new members of the spine to learn off? Macca Springer on the wing. I think if there is going to be one change from Fozzie's picks for the World Cup, Macca Springer is going to come onto the wing for Caleb Clark. He's very, very agile, just like Sean Stevenson, but he also has the power that Caleb Clark can offer. So he can essentially jump onto the right wing, do 2 in the 1, allow Talia or Narawa to remain at 11 and be dangerous, giving Will Jordan, who's probably going to be one of the vice captains, a bit of a support in the air as well. And Ruben Love, I think, is basically going to succeed Damian McKenzie as the utility king off the bench, covering 10 and 15. So even though there's probably going to be, there are 3 specialist 10s in the team, I see Bodie and D-Mac probably trading off a fair bit with Ruben Love, interchangeable with whichever one of those 2 is coming off the bench. Anyway, so considering all these ideas Razor seems to have, the ideas I seem to have read into, what tactics can we expect? Well, Jason Ryan, the guy who's running the Type 5 forwards, he's going to want to continue this whole idea of high ball and playtime. Jason Ryan found it very important to, well, not only entertain the fans, but have Type 5 forwards who are very, very fit. It goes without saying as well, with Jason Ryan's love for his Type 5 forwards, there's going to be a lot of set-piece dominance. I also think, though I can't do any video analysis for today's upload, there is going to be a bit of the cover defense coming in to kind of diffuse a few of the football-esque tactics I'm going to discuss in next week's upload. There's also going to be a bit of disruptive jackals, I think, taking place as Razor. He's been the guy seeing eye to eye with these loose forwards in the January break where all the Super Rugby teams aren't playing. If Razor's doing all this one-on-one tutoring with them, I would even open my minds to the possibility of a 6-2 split becoming a thing. I mean, imagine Josh Lord in jersey 19, Sam Cane in jersey 20, and also imagine Sami Penny Finau in jersey 21. Considering Finau played fullback and has been fast enough to play on the wing as a pro athlete and stuff, considering it was that Reds game that really impressed Jason Ryan, we could really see Finau come along and cover the back line with a 6-2 split taking effect. I also believe we're going to see TWI taking precedent to the depth charts. Razor, for example, he's mentioned things like Noah Hotham and Taha Kemura being together since school, so when they come along into the team, they're almost certainly going to get their first caps together, though that's not just going to happen quite yet. I think he's going to take a serious consideration of, you know, getting these 10s and 12s the game time together, getting these 8s and 9s the game time together, building trust from the A team to the B team, not just constantly looking at different guys, constantly chopping and changing the third choice players. He'll want to have a clear structure of who's where in the pecking order once he's taken his first year of deciding, you know, who those first choice guys are. We're also going to see a lot of innovative, expansive play because that was the thing at the Crusaders. But to finish off the video, the key reason I think Scott Robertson is going to dominate as the All Blacks coach is he's going to take discipline very seriously. Now, this final graphic, I have the Wall of Shame, all historic red cards in the All Blacks history. So in the All Blacks history, as you guys who are watching this live can read, well, you can see 10 have been awarded: Cyril Brownlee 1925, Colin Meads in 1967. They were the only All Blacks in the amateur era who ever got sent off. But since Sonny Bill Williams in the 2017 Lions Tour, it started to become a bit more common. Now, 60% of every red card the All Blacks have received in history came in the Ian Foster era. The first of those was offered to Ongafasi for a head-high tackle, while Geordie Barrett obviously did not get suspended as his red card was rescinded by the judicial process. I am still going to list him as he did go off for that match against Australia in 2021. Angus Ta'avao had a really bad head-on-head clash in 2022, whereas there were 3 red cards for the All Blacks in 2023. 30% of the historic red cards in our nation's history happened in Ian Foster's final year in charge of the team. That was Scott Barrett getting their 2 yellow cards in 1 test, so he became the first All Black to get red carded twice. We then have Ethan de Groot and Sam Cane really trying to tackle their best, but not quite getting their arms around first. It was their shoulders connecting with the carrier first, so those 2 are obviously red carded as well. Now, what I'm going to say about these red cards is that you can go over to my previous video about Scott Robertson's dominance with the Crusaders, and you can see in that video how seriously he took discipline. That's going to be my case against that. All of these historic red cards, a lot of them have been coming recently, and to get the team back on top, I believe Razor is going to take a huge step towards snuffing out ill discipline. Remember to click on this video that you see on screen, guys, because that's going to be it from me today. I'm really looking forward to seeing Scott Robertson dominating as the All Blacks head coach. I'm looking forward to seeing smiles on the players' faces again. It's going to be very good, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers for watching from Max.